Hi, I'm Gary the Water Guy, and now in the Water eStore and the Water Store in Midland, Ontario. Today we're talking about how to clean the flow control and brine piston in a WaterBoss high efficiency water softener. The procedure is the same for an Aquamaster water softener. So during this video I will show you one or the other, or at some portions I'll show you both where it differs between the two. So why would you need to do this? Because you've maybe got some dirt that's been lodged in there, and because of that it stopped the water softener from working. So by the way, I should mention that we do offer free shipping and discount pricing on these WaterBoss high efficiency water softeners. Just like I say, follow this link up here. It'll take you right to our website. So the first step we need to do is remove the cover. So the procedure for both models is the same. You grab it at the back, you kind of separate it a little bit and lift, and the top pops right off. So for the WaterBoss, you're going to want to start with taking it out of service and putting it into bypass. So you turn this over here, and then you're going to want to regenerate it. So you push this R button with the arrow up beside it, hold it down, and then you hear the motor humming, and so it's starting the cycle. So what that's going to do is going to release all the pressure in the whole system. Once the motor has stopped humming and stopped turning, then what you can do is you can remove the controller. So you just slide it to the right and it clicks off. We can reconnect this later. Set it aside, and then you can disconnect it from the float here. The rest is the same as for the Aquamaster. Troubleshooting may have indicated an issue with the brine piston, and it's inside here, so it needs to be cleaned out. So to start that, we put the water softener into bypass mode. Once it's in bypass mode, we hold down the regenerate button for 5 seconds, and that will put the water softener into regeneration, which would release any pressure that's inside the water softener. You can see it says going to 1. Once it gets to 1, then we can disconnect the controller to get better access to the brine piston. We're also going to be removing this line here, so we can unscrew this. Now typically this brine connection here, brine line connection, is normally just hand tight, but if it's a little bit more than that on yours, then you can use a pair of pliers or a wrench to remove it. So it says it's in backwash 1 now, so at this stage what we can do is we can unplug it, remove the controller, and just pull it back like that out of the way. So here's where the brine piston is inside here, and to get better access to the float, and if there's an issue with the brine piston, maybe there's some debris inside there that's causing some issues. There may also be some debris inside the float, so it probably is a good idea at this point to remove that also. So if we just pry up this cap a little bit, gives us a little better access. So we'll use a Phillips screwdriver to remove the piston from the drive end cap assembly. So there's one at the bottom and one at the top. Okay, so this water softener is on a chair, so that's why it's wobbling a little bit, but yours at home won't wobble nearly as much. You just have to be careful with the screws here that they don't fall inside the brine tank, and then you'll have to go fishing them out. And we'll take the next one here. All right, great. All right, so the brine piston is inside here, but so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let that fall out, and then I'm going to remove these 2 screws here so we get access inside to the brine line flow control. It's inside here. That aside, and set this aside. Remove that screw too. All right. So now we get access inside here. Again, be careful of the components in here. So that little black looks like an O-ring or a seal at the bottom, that's the brine line flow control. So what you need to do is make sure that the hole in the center of that brine line flow control is clear. So you could use a wooden toothpick like this. You don't want to use a paper clip or anything metal that might elongate that hole. Here's the O-ring here, so we have to make sure that stays in place. But you can see you can lift it up like that, and that would make sure that it is clean. Now when you put it back, it has to go back the same way that it came out. That is that the concave side has to be up, as it is here. So once you've cleaned that out, then what you can do is you can reassemble the whole unit. So then we can reassemble these two pieces. So they're going to go together like this. So you can see it would be positioned here. So we can put the two screws back in. Again, being so then we're going to put the piston back inside here. Now before we reassemble this, what we would do at this point is you'd pull out the float and you'd wash all this out. Because like I say, if there was some debris that got inside and that may have caused an issue with the brine line flow control, it may very well be inside here too. So it's a good idea to flush all this out at this point. And then we can look at putting it all back together. So there is an O-ring here. Make sure you put that back in there. And as you can see, there's some plumber's clear silicone grease on here. So I always recommend that that is reapplied to make sure that you have a nice seal. So one of the screws goes on the top here. So. Make sure the screws are tight. Then what we can do is connect this back to the float. Make sure the float gets positioned incorrectly again. This is the hex nut that holds the float in place. So we can put that hex nut back on there. Hand tight is typically tight enough. And same with this brine connection here. It needs to be hand tight, but a tight hand tight. So if you're in doubt, tighten it by hand as best you can, then give it a little bit more with a pair of pliers or a wrench to make sure it doesn't leak. All right, and then we'll put the controller back on, like so. And we can plug the controller back in. Once we plug it back in, it's going to say going home. Once it gets back to home, then we can open up the valve, the bypass valve, back into service. Check for leaks. Assuming there's no leaks, then we can press the regenerate button, hold it down for 5 seconds so it regenerates, and after it regenerates, you'll have soft water again. So then to put the WaterBoss back into service, I'm going to slide this back in here. We're going to reconnect the motor. Goes down here. And then as you can hear, it's starting to go to the next cycle. So now it's going to 2. And once it's gone to 2 and the motor stopped turning, then you can press the R and up button again to advance it to 3 and then to 4 and then to home. So the next step would be to regenerate the water softener. So you'd push down this button, hold it for 5 seconds. Of course, you'd want to put it back into service before you do that, and then go through a whole cycle so that you've got soft water again. To put the cover back on, you just center it in the middle, bring it back, make sure the wire is in the cutout at the back, not pinched, and you press it on. And that's it. If you like what you saw today, please click the subscribe button. That way you'll be notified about all the new videos that become available on this channel. I'd also really appreciate it if you could share this video with your Facebook friends. If you'd like some more information, you go to our website, either the eStore.com or the waterstoremidland.com. And again, I'm Gary the Water Guy from the Water Store in Midland, Ontario. Thanks for watching.